This is the SaveHeart Stories podcast. Real-life stories of lives saved and changed due to sudden cardiac arrest and the availability of life-saving AED devices. Because one life lost is too many, these stories matter. Here's your host, Dave Fritzsche.
Welcome to HeartNation and SaveHeart Stories. I'm Dave Fritzsche. Here we showcase the stories of really special people doing phenomenal work to combat sudden cardiac arrest, the largest natural leading cause of death in the United States. To begin, I thought I'd go back to a little English lesson for some of us from Shakespeare when he said, "What's in a name?" With Romeo and Juliet. And it was meant to convey that names aren't especially special or aren't as special anyways as the people that hold those names. And while that's hard to disagree with, we think that names are pretty special too. Matthew Mangine is the name of two very special people, one of whom is our guest today on SaveHeart Stories. Matthew Mangine founded in 2020 the Matthew Mangine Jr. One Shot Foundation to honor his son Matthew, who died tragically of sudden cardiac arrest in 2020. Matt, it's an honor to have you here today. Welcome to SaveHeart Stories.
Dave, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. You know, before we dive into the just amazing work that you and your wife, Kim, are doing to combat cardiac arrest and to honor Matthew and to spread awareness and all the other great initiatives, I thought it'd be great if our audience could learn a little bit about what a special young man Matthew was and what prompted you to start this organization.
So Matthew passed away on June 16th of 2020 at soccer practice. And after he passed, the thing about Matthew, he was a great kid. He was the most outgoing person you would ever meet. I remember the day we moved into this house, we pulled up to the front of it and he said, "Okay, I'll see you guys. I'll be home at dark. I'm going to go make new friends," and just jumped out of the car. He was so our generation, right? That Generation X, out all day, playing till dark. Another funny story is we have a neighborhood pond that's probably filled with fertilizer and God knows what else. And one summer, my mother's watching the kids and I walk in the house from work and it smells like fish. They are trying to cook the bluegill and the bass that they pulled out of this lake. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's catch and release only, boys.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the kid Matthew was. He was, outgoing. He always helped everybody. He was the most personable person. That was, we all have our kids, and that was, I think, one of the hardest things for me and Kim to deal with. He was the perfect child. Our 15-year-old Joseph, when he was a baby, we called him the nightmare. So if we would have reversed situations, we probably would have only had one, but don't tell Joseph that.
No, never.
But so Matthew went to soccer practice on June 16th. It was the first practice back from COVID. And it was probably the first time in his life he was ever not sedentary is the wrong word. They still did some online, training and things like that with his club team. It was during COVID, and it was the first time we ever shut down. I remember I still have the game film of his last game was that day before we shut down on St. Patrick's Day. So that Sunday he played a game, and Kim and I filmed it. I still have that film of his last game. So that was March, and then we went all the way to June, first organized practice back, and they were doing some conditioning. And on his last sprint, he collapsed. And when he collapsed, in a panic, Kim called me, minutes after, and all I kept hearing in the background was, he's having a seizure. And as we know now, that's a classic sign of cardiac arrest. So I think the problem is it wasn't recognized for what it was initially. It delayed a lot of the treatment. The other thing they never got, there was 5 AEDs on campus that night, and no one ever brought the AED to him. So his first shock didn't come until 12 minutes after EMS arrived.
Yeah.
And at that point, unfortunately, it was too late.
Well, I really appreciate, Matt, you sharing that story. I've gotten to know you here recently and, been made aware of your foundation through other common contacts we have, other Parent Heart Watch members and so forth. And it's a wonderful story of a wonderful young man. And the work that you and your wife are doing is inspirational, to say the least. And so, again, it's an honor to have you here to help spread that awareness and education and combat sudden cardiac arrest. I know when you started the organization to honor Matthew, and to begin, I guess, with donating some AEDs, right, to make sure that not only were they there, but people knew how to use them. How is the mission of the One Shot Foundation expanded since you started 5 years ago?
So when we started March of 2021, so not quite a year after he had passed away. And honestly, the foundation started a little faster than probably we would have wanted to, because we got our golf outing date sooner than we ever thought. So
Right.
our golf outing is the week of his passing, and originally we didn't think we were going to get it.
Yeah.
So it kind of rushed everything a little bit at the beginning. And we started looking into what is the best option for us. We wanted to help with AEDs. And the more we got down the road of thinking about it, AEDs weren't necessarily the problem that night. Training and awareness and preparation were. So that's where we met with the University of Cincinnati emergency medicine team. Ironically, the same people that saved Damar Hamlin. Before they saved Damar Hamlin, they showed us it's called Take 10 training. It started out of Texas.
Yeah.
And they started doing it here about 10 years before we had gotten off the ground. They showed it to us, so we started using that as our platform for training. Our goal is to get people training more often, almost like fire drills, so that we're doing it multiple times a year. I mean, let's face it, I think both of us are comfortable.
Make it second nature. Yeah.
I mean, we know where to grab a fire extinguisher. We remember pass. We remember stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah.
Let's think about that with AEDs and CPR, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Absolutely.
We need to get people more prepared. So we really focus on the education more. We help with AEDs, but the education is the key if we're going to have true success.
Absolutely. And, and then becoming more aware of you, I think, even through a heart screening that you participated in and maybe helped sponsor with MCOR in Columbus, in Powell. And that's when 2 or 3 people said, Dave, you really need to speak with Matthew Mangine. They're doing unbelievable work with the One Shot Foundation. And, that was a few months ago. And here we are now talking with each other and sharing each other's stories. So it's just, again, it's wonderful things you do. You're right. I've been in the AED industry for 25 years. AEDs obviously are the key to one of the first keys, but not the only one by any stretch, to help save more lives, putting them in new places, be it the home, be it outdoor, where we focus as SaveHeart by HeartNation. But like you say, it's really the awareness, making sure people know where they are, how to use them, prepared to use it, and can act during an emergency. And then doing things proactively like you're doing with the screenings, the heart screenings, which we also have become more involved in, because it all matters in terms of reducing unnecessary death and improving survival rates. So it's been great to learn about.
The amazing thing is, like, you look at the medical team that saved Damar, and they'll all tell you that they were in a bystander situation out of the hospital. Are they trained medical professionals? Yes. But again, they practiced for that moment, even though that was the first time in a football environment that they'd ever used it. And America got to see how it should work, right? And
Absolutely.
any person can do that. It doesn't have to be a medical professional, and that's what we need to do, is change people's mindsets on that.
Amen. You mentioned a little while ago about the foundation's golf outing, which started, about a year after and came up quickly. I believe yours is coming up here in about a month on June 9th, correct?
Yes, June 9th.
Fantastic.
My wife will tell you we're not ready, and I'm a fly by the seat of your pants guy. I'm like, that'll be fine. This is our 5th year. We'll be fine.
The good news is that probably means you're pretty busy with sponsors and attendees. And I know everyone comes to, again, really have a good time celebrating Matthew's life, but also the unbelievable work that the One Shot Foundation does. So can you tell us a little bit about the event and anything people should do if they want to support it or participate?
Yeah. So if you go to our website, under the event section, there is the golf outing landing page. I would love to say that directly, but again, this is the first year it's been taken out of my hands. We have 2 great people between my wife and Ann Sturgis, who's our event planner, that are running with this. You know how it is. It's hard to give up something, but at the same time, we get overly busy. So, having somebody plan this has been a very good thing for us, because they're way more organized than I am. We have a few spots left for both sponsorships and foursomes. It's here at Triple Crown Country Club in Union, Kentucky. And this is the 5th year that they've hosted it for us. And they've been great partners in helping us get this off the ground.
That's fantastic. And I believe, because I was on your website this morning again, soon thereafter in October is one of your other marquee events, I believe. Is that the birthday bash?
Yeah, the birthday bash. So our 2 big events are the golf outing and the birthday bash. And the golf outing falls the week of his passing, and the birthday bash falls around the week of his birthday. This year it's a little bit earlier because of actually our younger son Joseph and his golf schedule. So we moved it up a little earlier a week. But Matthew's birthday was October 13th, and so we try to plan it around then. And this will be our third. Obviously, it was kind of hard to do them the first couple of years when we were in COVID. So we planned them, and they turned into virtual, events. But for this will be our this will be our fourth. This will be our fourth that we've had, a gala, and it's gotten better every year.
Wonderful. Well, I know as we discussed, we are going to actually try to sponsor or at least support some way or another, whatever makes sense, whether it's the golf outing itself. Frankly, I'd love to play in that. I'm a very mediocre golfer, but hey, I love to be with people on a golf course. To me, it's one of the enjoyable things about life is walking around in nature with friends or new friends, and this one to support a great cause. So I know that folks, as Matthew mentioned, should go to www.oneshot.life to learn more, not only about these events, the golf outing and the birthday bash, but I'm telling you, just a wealth of information and awareness, some great videos, and of course, all the wonderful work that the One Shot Foundation does. So I'd recommend people go there. We'll hit that again at the end of the call here, but it's a great resource. I commend you on a really, really phenomenal website, by the way. It's no easy task to do that. So, at any rate, well, good. I've also become aware that beyond the AEDs placed and the making sure people are trained in is it the Take 10? Is that the hands only training so that people can make it their own? In the heart screenings, you also, it looks like, have worked with, I think, local legislators to make sure that laws are passed. Is that right? I was reading about an event this morning or an initiative.
Yeah, we worked in Kentucky and Ohio, and I got a chance to help a little bit with the federal AEDs Act bill. I got to speak with Damar when we introduced that in the press conference. What was that now? 2 years ago, and that just finally was passed. But the state of Kentucky and Ohio, been asked to testify. Kentucky, I would like to think we have one of the most comprehensive, heart safe bills on the market right now for athletes. It's, we combined it kind of with on the books already EAP laws, which Emergency Action Plan. And that, gets people prepared, right? If you have a good emergency action plan and you practice it and simulate it, especially, that's one of the things we changed. It was switching it to seasonally, right? What good does it do if we just do it once a year in the summer and you're coaching basketball or baseball and it's, almost a year later? So we switched that to where everybody has to practice that seasonally before the start of the season and simulate it, right? And with all the schools we work with, at least simulate a cardiac arrest, because let's face it, it's the number one cause of death in America naturally. And the other thing, it's the number one cause of death of athletes. So if you're going to encounter anything, as I like to say to a lot of people, the law of averages it'll be a cardiac arrest.
Yeah. And I'm glad you restated those statistics. Repetition for an event, but also in terms of what we're trying to make people aware of is so key, right? I think, Rocky's trainer, practice makes permanent. And I think, that just means so much because a lot of people don't realize that sudden cardiac arrest is so prevalent that can happen to anybody without regard to background, sex, race, religion, even health profile, right? Kids who you'd never know. And, I strangely enough or coincidentally, I've been in the AED industry a long time. In 2006, I'm, a 36-year-old guy, VP of sales for a leading manufacturer. And I got checked out and it turns out I have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And I didn't know that. And I played 3 sports in high school and 2 in college. And, luckily for me, I'm at the low end of the risk spectrum, but it's such an important thing, to your point, to get involved in all aspects of preventing cardiac arrest and being aware of it. And that's why we've now taken an advanced support initiative in helping screening organizations, because as you know, there's some wonderful ones around the country doing that. So
100%. And that's why we partner with MCOR, right? I mean, do what you're good at. And we're not good at screening because we don't do a lot. So we partnered with MCOR and we're working on a comprehensive program where, we offer all services together between the two entities where we can screen and we can do your training and everything else.
It's wonderful work.
Leave equipment. And let you guys run with it after we leave.
Yep. And bigger, stronger together, hitting all aspects of what we're all trying to work on, which is wonderful. again, now that you've, 4+ years now with the organization, you've inspired so many people in other organizations, people you work with. Obviously, you've exacted some change, working with some legislators and other survivors and other parents. What are the things that inspire you today to say, you know what, we're making a difference out there and we're going to change the way that, responses happen to cardiac arrest?
One of the biggest things is the survivors that I get to meet today, right? It's very inspiring to me to be able to meet people that, it's hit close to home. There's a couple people that have had a cardiac arrest that I've known for a long time. And it's, it hit close to home, and they're here today to tell their story, and they work with the foundation pretty well. But at the same time, we know we have a lot more work to do because we have a couple losses. Since Matthew's passing, we just lost another boy about a month and a half ago here in the state of Kentucky to a sudden cardiac arrest.
I saw.
So we know the fight's got to keep going.
Yeah. Well, no question about it. And, it's not just a colloquialism, but I've been honored and privileged to talk with people like you, like other members of Parent Heart Watch, who frankly, I didn't interact all that much with, in the first 25 years I've been in the industry. And I think the good news is there's a lot of momentum and a lot of excitement, a lot of collaboration that there has not been. That excites me the most in meeting people like you, turning, really tragedy into triumph and continuing the battle, telling the story of not just, your son and what a special young guy he was, but also what makes a difference, where brass tacks is. And, that's been just an honor and kind of what I'm excited about looking forward as well. I mentioned it earlier, but just to learn more and to get involved with the One Shot Foundation, to make a donation, tell a little bit about where people can contact you and the organization to help you make a difference.
So our website is www.oneshot.life. And I will say it's gone through many iterations. It's still the Matthew Mangine Jr. Foundation. One Shot was our tagline. But how many people know how to spell Mangine? And that was a miss by me and Kim. And when we talked about it, got to simplify it so people actually remember. And that's where One Shot came from. So we started using, One Shot to simplify all of our stuff. But my email and my cell phone number is on the website. Reach out to me directly. I love making these connections like you and I have now made. That's how we grow, right? It's all about growth and awareness and getting as many people as we can involved.
Fantastic. Well, I know I'm going to follow up with you separately about the golf event and supporting the Matthew Mangine Jr. One Shot Foundation and meeting you in person, which will be fantastic now that we've spoken a few times, and look forward to bright days ahead. But I just wanted to thank you, Matthew, for joining us here on SaveHeart Stories. It's been a real privilege for me and for my audience to hear from you. And we'd like to talk with you again. The invitation's always open.
Yeah, same. Yep. As my wife likes to say, there's not a lot of, I always have something to say, so it's fine.
Well, that's important. Thank goodness you do. Yeah. I want to thank Matthew Mangine for being our guest here today on SaveHeart Stories. To hear more life-saving stories and to hear from other just really incredible people like Matthew who are doing some amazing work to combat sudden cardiac arrest, please visit www.saveheartstories.com. Like us and look for us wherever you stream your favorite shows. To learn more about SaveHeart by HeartNation, please visit us at www.saveheart.life. I like that we both use the life moniker at the end. I think that's actually a really special thing. So saveheart.life, oneshot.life. Contact me directly if you need as well at dave@saveheart.life. Until then, this is Dave Fritzsche reminding all of us to be grateful every day, be kind, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on another edition of SaveHeart Stories.
This has been the SaveHeart Stories podcast with Dave Fritzsche, AED industry veteran and founder of SaveHeart by HeartNation. To learn more about how outdoor AEDs can keep your community safer, call 312-953-6928 or email dave@saveheart.life. Proudly made in the USA, SaveHeart's highly visible, alarmed, lighted, temperature-controlled, and 24/7 monitored outdoor cabinets provide immediate visibility and access to life-saving AEDs. Stop the bleed kits, Narcan, and other emergency supplies. They are ideal for parks, athletic fields, trails, schools and universities, marinas, business districts, and any outdoor locations where people congregate. Click on www.saveheart.life for more information. SaveHeart Stories is a presentation of SaveHeart by HeartNation.